So hotel rooms in Paris are known to be characteristically small. Yeah, they're just like kind of tiny little spaces. They can be very small, but the savvy tourist like I am, I got one with a balcony. I paid a little extra for a balcony, so the room won't feel as small because boom, boom, who's got a balcony? I mean, you can kind of see stuff. You know, the French get a lot of guff from a lot of people, but they invented a lot of things. They've really contributed. The French invented the cartwheel, black and white television sitcoms, K-pop, edible arrangements, modern disco. And the French also invented these things right here. These things. They are called potato sticks. Pretty good. Now, this is the Centre Pompidou here in Paris, named after a very famous French haircut. I think, like looking at it, I believe this is one of the main power plants in Paris, which is why they call it the City of Lights, because of this bad boy right here. It keeps the lights on. That's why Paris is the City of Lights. So, most interesting thing about this place is I've actually never been inside of it. I tried to go once, and they said like that'll be 13 euros, and I was like, what? To tour a power plant? I don't think so. But everybody who comes out of it seems to really enjoy what's on the inside of it. So maybe it's like a fancy French power plant. And it is right here in the Marais section of Paris. So there you go. If you come to Marais, hit the French power plant. Pretty cool, I guess. And now this is a very famous area of Paris where they sell like books, and vendors always have these open like all day. It's always bustling. It's always just packed with vendors selling their stuff, and it seems like it's always open, except for these ones here. Yeah, except those aren't open, and then those also aren't open, and all these aren't open either. But like the one guy down there is open, and he's just like doing crazy business, selling books. When they're open, it's really busy, but when they're closed, it's less busy. It's very French. Now, this here is it's a croque madame. It's a madame because it has the egg on it. If you take the egg off, that's a croque monsieur. So under it, that's croque monsieur. Then you put the egg on, and that makes it a croque madame. Because women have eggs, that's why it's named that. Also, it's basically just a grilled cheese sandwich for 13 euros. So this here is a very famous river here in Paris. It goes right through the middle of it. It's called the Seine River. It's where they invented trigonometry, because this part right here is called the Seine, and then there's another one that splits around an island, and that one is called it's called the cosine river. So there's the sine and the cosine, and then some mathematician who was French back in the day was like, this almost makes a triangle, and that's where it comes from, right here. The Seine River. It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of water. It's got boats, like most rivers, but like French boats. All right, this is really cool. This is Notre Dame de Paris, also known as the University of Notre Dame. This is, you know, pretty big institution over here. And it's crazy to think that, you know, for all their away games, they have to fly like 15 hours from here to go play in the States against UCLA or like Florida or something. So the fact that they're such a good football team every year when they have to fly so far is crazy. Pretty famous. This is where they shot the movie Rudy. where they shot the Disney animated film Hunchback of Notre Dame. They filmed it right here. You probably recognize it if you've ever seen the movie. And it burned down. It burned down a couple years ago. Remember? Like it burned down. And it's insane to think that the fire was so hot, it melted all these stones. Like, it's crazy. But they're rebuilding it, and it should be ready in time for the upcoming college football season. So it's pretty exciting. Everybody's pretty excited in Paris about the upcoming college football season. So that's it's Notre Dame right there. I think that's how you say it. Notre Dame, I think, is probably more correct. So this part of the river, this river's called the cosign, right? We saw the sign earlier. This one's called the cosign, and then the island in between it, this island right here, like the bridges and stuff. This is called the hypotenuse. So it's a French word that just means like connecting the sign to the cosine. So it's math. I don't know much about a lot, but I do know math. This is a very famous shop right here in Paris, Shakespeare and Company. A lot of people think that Shakespeare was British, but he's not, obviously, because this is like his store. And you could tell, like when you look at pictures of him, just like the facial hair and like the way he wore his neck thing, like it's very French. So big misconception. He was actually French. This is where he was born, and this is where he opened his first store to sell plays. You can see a lot of streets in Paris are named rue. Rue is it's a French word. It means street. So it's like rue and then like a famous last name or a famous first name, like Rue whatever. And in fact, one of the most famous French actresses went on to huge stardom in American television sitcoms. She is from France. Her name, Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls. That's a little known fact. And this actually, I might be mistaken, that may be a statue of her here. This is a statue of Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls. And this building right here, this is called the Pantheon. The Pantheon, not like the Parthenon that they have in Italy, but this is the Pantheon. And not much is known about this place because I asked like 4 or 5 people around here. I was like, what's up with the Pantheon? And they were like, je ne parle pas anglais. I was like, oh yeah, me either, I have no idea. They don't know much about it because I don't know if anybody's ever actually been inside. Like, I've been here for like 7 hours and I've seen like nobody go inside. So it's probably sealed up. I do know that it was one of Napoleon's houses. I think this is where, when he married Marie Antoinette, this is actually where they took their honeymoon. That's why Paris is like so famous for like honeymoons. Like, everybody's like, we should go on a honeymoon. It's because Napoleon and Marie Antoinette went on a honeymoon here first. I believe if that's wrong, just like correct it in the comments, but I'm fairly sure. Like I said, not much is known about this place. There you go. Go ahead and read that right there. Can you see what that says? That says Luxembourg. Now, Luxembourg is actually, we're going to go inside these gates here. Actually, Luxembourg's a very tiny country, and it's in the middle of Paris. I don't know if you know that. It's very tiny. Like, you know how the Vatican city is like a tiny country in the middle of Italy? Same thing with Luxembourg. It's like a tiny, this is the gates right here. Once you leave these gates, then you go back to France. But right now we are in Luxembourg. Gonna try to get my passport stamped. Yeah, so it's tiny. You just saw all of Luxembourg. And now this is the Louvre, very famous, and it's massive. It's massive. It starts in this little building here, and it stretches all the way down the Seine River, all the way, keeps going past those bridges, all the way down. You could barely see the end of it right there. That little tower, that's the end of it. This whole thing is the Louvre, and the Louvre holds all the art in like the world. Like, it's like all the art is right in there. And then like the art you see in other museums, because the Louvre, they loan it out. Like if a museum like Getty Museum or like the Smithsonian Institution or like the Native American Heritage Museum needs a piece of art, then they'll just like call the Louvre and be like, hey, we got like this thing this weekend. Can we get like some statues? And the Louvre's like, yeah, they got like all the statues. So you want like naked ones, or do you want like ones with like dudes fighting like snakes, or like just the heads, like just some just like heads of famous people? And they're like, we just want the heads of famous people, and then they'll send it out there. and then they'll hold it for like a couple weeks or a month or like however long the party is or whatever, and then they send it back here. So this is that's the Louvre right there. Yeah, if you actually want to go inside, it takes a week and a half. So I've never gone inside. I just been on the outside of it, and I was like, that looks like exhausting. So so there you go. It's the Louvre, and it's pronounced Louvre, not Louvre. Like Brett Favre isn't pronounced like Brett Favre. It's Brett Favre. So this is the Louvre. All right. So this building here, this is the Musee D'orsay. It's a French word. Like if you want to translate that into English, it's the Museum D'Orsay is what this is. Like a lot of things in Paris are named after French things, so you have to kind of know the language a little bit. But yeah, this is an art museum, and what it is, it's the overflow museum for the Louvre that we just saw. So this is where all the overflow art goes. Like if the Louvre is like you know, they'll like call up, be like, oh, mon ami, I got there's someone, we just found like 10 more paintings. We have like no room, and they're like really big, but they're really cool. And then like the Musée D'orsay is like, mon ami, you could store them here. We have like a whole, like this whole part's empty. Like you just put your paintings up there. And then like the Louvre's like, oh, merci beaucoup. And then like D'Orsay's like, oh, merci beaucoup to you as well. So yeah, like they get along really well because they're just like across the river from each other. But yeah, so Musée D'Orsay, or the Museum D'Orsay. I've actually never been inside there either. All right, now this right here, not this, but this right here is probably one of like the top, probably one of the top 25 or like 30 most famous landmarks in all of Paris, right? This tower right here. This is called it's called the Eiffel Tower, and it's named after the engineer who built it. His name was Gustave Tower, and I don't know where they get the Eiffel from, but so Gustave Tower built this like 150 some odd years ago, and he built it, and everybody's like, cool, you built the tower, what does it do? Does it do like TV signals? They're like, no, TV's not even invented yet. And they're like, what does it actually do? And he's like, it's like a tower, and it doesn't do anything. Like you can go up to the top and like you look around, then you're like, okay, I guess I'll go back down again, right? But then like in the past like 20 years, it became like the most famous Instagram backdrop for like photos and videos. Like it's huge on Instagram. Like everybody has a picture in front of this tower, right? And then Gustave's family, like his grandchildren, were like, see, he knew what he was doing. Like you all doubted him, but he knew. You know, don't doubt artists. Like Gustave knew what he was doing. So that's the tower right there. It's actually bigger than it looks. It goes like all the way down to the ground. So it's just so far away. So like a really big thing to do in Paris, like all of France, is to like smoke cigarettes, right? Like a lot of countries like you shouldn't smoke, and like Paris is like you should probably like smoke some more. Like everybody does it. So so I went to a Tabac, which is short for tobacco. That's where they sell cigarettes, and I got some like really classic, like French. It's like a French brand. It's right there. It's American Spirit. I guess like a French brand. It's American Spirit Yellow because they call it that because it turns your teeth yellow. So it's like American Spirit Yellow, but it's like a French thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and then when you do it, like you're supposed to, like when you light it, you're supposed to just be super casual with it and like just like wave at random people and flop your arm around a lot. So like if we do it, the thing is that you have to look casual doing it, right? Like you're just like having a cigarette. That's like the French way. So you right, so like it's lit, and then you're just like, look, I'm just blending in, I'm just being French, look, I'm cool, like everything's like super casual, right? like don't inhale it or anything, but like maybe just hold it until it burns down. But like casual. So that right there, that is the Arc de Triomphe. It's way down there. It's bigger also when you get closer to it. But, so they built the Arc de Triomphe. It's the Triumph Arc, is what it means. And they build a new arc every time the French win a war. Like every time they win a war, they build like a new arch to triumph. But there's only one that they built because they've only won the one war. So, but well, I guess like a really good victory. So they built like a really big one, right? So that's it right there. Yeah, it's huge, and that's the thing. One of the French are known for like their subtlety and their kind of understatedness. So that's why it's so. It's big. It's a little bit too much. So this street's super famous. Like this street, it's called. I want to make sure I get it right. Hold on a second. It's called the Champs-Élysées, and it's like one of the most famous like shopping streets in all the world. Like this whole district, it's all just like these. It's like super famous for shopping, right? And you find brands here that you're not gonna find brands anywhere else in the entire globe, but you'll find them here. That's why it's so famous. They have like Louis Vuitton and like Fendi and like Tom Ford, Gucci, like, you know, stuff that you're only going to see here in Paris. Like a lot of big famous like Adidas. There's a Gap Kids down the way. There's an Orange Julius right over here, which is pretty good, next to the Claire's ear piercing boutique. So this is like really fancy stuff. I'm gonna head over to McDonald's. Now right here you have it's the world famous Moulin Rouge, right? It's not like that one the one Baz Luhrmann movie was about this place. It was called oh my god, I'm so drawing a blank right now. It's the Baz Luhrmann movie. It's like Strictly Ballroom or something. It's like one of the earlier ones. Anyway, it was set here, and the sign out front says this show has been running continuously for 120 years. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's such a long show. But you don't have to go for the whole thing. Like, you just go in for a couple hours, you watch some of it, and then you leave. Like, if you get a ticket, you don't have to stay for like 120 years and watch the whole thing. But it's been running for 120 years straight, which is crazy. I mean, if you book a gig on that, you're set for 120 years. That's a good gig. Now this is the Sacre Couer. It's a big building right in the middle of Paris. I think it was like one of Napoleon's homes or something like that, because he had like a lot of homes. He's like super famous. But this, oddly enough, is also where the French Revolution started, right? Like, I don't know if you ever saw that. Did you ever see that movie, Les Miserables? Well, the owner of Sacre Couer, whose name was Les Miserables, and then he started the revolution because they're like fighting over like cake and like chopping each other's heads off and stuff. And they're like, that's messed up. Stop doing that. And they're like, no. And then that all happened like here at the Sacre Couer. I think that sounds kind of right anyway. I'll have to go back and watch the movie again. I'd go closer, but it's like uphill, and I'm tired. All right, so I hope you all learned something on the tour today in Paris. It's been a long day. Before I go see the nightlife, I'm just gonna sit outside and get some fresh air and enjoy the view.